Senator Sanders, good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Glad to get up here to Baltimore. First of all, happy Passover. Did you have out of town? Did you have a chance to do a Seder?
Nope, been working hard on the campaign.
I totally understand that. So I have more than 4 questions. That I promise you. Hillary Clinton the other night in her victory speech after New York said this: "To all those people who supported Senator Sanders, I believe there is much more that unites us than divides us." Do you agree with her on that?
I think there is a lot that unites us. I think there's a lot that divides us. I think the fact that all of us are in agreement that Donald Trump would be a disaster for this country if he became president unites us. The fact that we understand, for example, that climate change is real while our Republican opponents ignore that reality unites us. But on the other hand, I think what divides us is the understanding on the part of millions of people who are supporting my candidacy that it really is too late for establishment politics and establishment economics. We have to deal in a very substantive way with income and wealth inequality. We need to understand why we're the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, not to have paid family and medical leave, and that we have to deal aggressively with a corrupt campaign finance system which allows big money interests to buy elections. Those are areas, I think, of difference.
Well, it's interesting you say there are differences. If she were here, she'd say, I agree with you on campaign finance. I agree with you on Medicare. I agree with you on...
but that's
she would
not...
say she would agree with those goals.
Well, but we all agree with goals. I mean, I suppose everybody has general understanding, that we don't want to see a nuclear war and so forth. But I think that I believe in a Medicare for all single-payer program that guarantees health care to all people. I have not only shown by talk, but by walking the walk, that you can run a campaign, a strong, winning national campaign, getting millions of individuals to make small campaign contributions. That has not been Secretary Clinton's approach. We have not been dependent on big money interests, and that is perhaps the most important thing, because I'm not quite sure that you're ever going to change this country, you're ever going to take on the billionaire class, ever going to create a government that works for the middle class so long as you're dependent on Wall Street money and big money interests.
What, I guess, though, that if this is, you see these as major divides, major splits in the party?
Well, you're using the
word. I mean, that's what I mean. Wait, no, but you said there's a lot that divides you. Again, this doesn't feel like
I believe
divides.
that we need a political revolution.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that right now you have a government that is, a government and an economy that is significantly controlled by the 1%, by wealthy corporate interests, the media as well. And I don't think we transform America in the way that we should unless millions of people stand up and fight back. That has been the whole thrust of my campaign. I think that that is striking a chord with ordinary people, getting people excited. People are tired of same old, same economics, politics, and media. They want real change in this country.
You wake up the day after the convention and you're not the nominee. Do you look in the mirror and say, this was a successful campaign?
Well, obviously our goal now is, while we have a narrow path to victory, we're going to fight through that path. We hope to win. But I think the fact that we have shown that there is massive dissatisfaction in this country with the status quo, that people want to think bigger, that people understand that when you have 20 people in this country owning more wealth than the bottom 150 million people, that people are showing in this campaign the desire to stand up and fight back. The fact that we have brought millions of young people who I think many of the pundits had thought were kind of apathetic, not interested in politics. Well, you know what? These young people know they're the future of this country. They want to shape the future, and I'm very proud that we have been able to bring them into the political process.
You just described it as a narrow path.
Yeah.
So what is it? Explain it to me.
Well, we're going to have to do, obviously, win big in the number of the primaries and caucuses that yet remain. A poll came out yesterday that had us within striking distance in California, our largest state. I think we could do very well in California.
But it starts with winning some states here, winning up Pennsylvania, winning...
It means, well, bottom line, the arithmetic is you got to win delegates. That's what it means. We have won 1,200.
In this case, it means big primary wins.
Right. We have won 1,200 delegates. And by the way, when we talk about the campaign, we started this campaign 60, 65 points behind Secretary Clinton in national polls. Now, many of these polls have us even, a few points ahead perhaps. Many of the polls now show us, and this is an important point, Chuck, when Democrats look out into the horizon, what unites us is the understanding that Trump would be a disastrous president. Look at the polls. Bernie Sanders runs better against Trump in almost all of these polls than does Hillary Clinton.
But she runs well too.
She runs well too. But, well, in some
does that hurt your cause a little bit? It's like, yeah, you do better, But she runs pretty well too.
Well, I think the answer is depending on the polls, and polls are polls. I don't want to go crazy on polls. But I think many Democrats are convinced that what is most important is defeating Donald Trump, and I believe the objective evidence is that I'm the stronger candidate.
What do you think this process has been fair to you, the Democratic nomination process?
Yes and no. What has disturbed me perhaps most is media and the pretty strong reluctance of media to deal with the real issues facing America, where media is more important than political gossip than they are about the issues that affect working people. So I go out and you talk to people, as I do every day. I'm sure Secretary Clinton does the same. These are the issues. Why is the middle class disappearing? Why will our kids have a lower standard of living than we do? Why we're the only country without health care for all or paid family and medical leave? Why are we not moving as aggressively as we should dealing with climate change? Those are the issues that people feel strongly about, not what the media feels strongly about. So the inability to have the kind of discussion about where we need to go, that has been disturbing to me.
So it sounds like the party, though, you feel like it's been fair to you.
No, I think we have, look, we're taking on the establishment. That's pretty clear. The fact that we had debates that were scheduled pretty clearly, to my mind, at a time when there would be minimum viewing audience, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, that's the way it is. We knew we were taking on the establishment, and here we are. So not complaining.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, you feel like you were given a fair shot at this nomination.
Yeah, we took advantage of the opportunities in front of us. We are in this race. We are not writing our obituary. We're in this race to California, and we're proud of the campaign we ran.
We crunched some interesting numbers here. So 17 of the 25 states with the highest levels of income inequality have held primaries. 16 of those 17 states have been won by Hillary Clinton, not by you. Why?
Well, because poor people don't vote. I mean, that's just a fact. That's a sad reality of American society, and that's what we have to transform. We have, as you know, one of the lowest voter turnouts of any major country on earth. We have done a good job bringing young people in. I think we have had some success with lower income people. But in America today, in the last election in 2014, 80% of poor people did not vote.
You feel as if you could find a way to get people that are fighting at that poverty line, you know, either just below it or just above it, if they were getting engaged in the process, you would do better.
If we can significantly increase voter turnout so that low-income people and working people and young people participated in the political process, if we could have a voter turnout of 75%, this country would be radically transformed.
Let's talk about a couple issues. You're getting hit a little bit by her when it comes to Connecticut primaries this week, when it comes to this issue with liability, with whether gun manufacturers should be allowed to be sued. And it's obviously something very important to the Sandy Hook victims. When we talked about this issue, I'd say 4 or 5 months ago, you indicated you were ready to sort of find a new compromise to open up that process, and then you backed off. Where are you on this issue?
Where I am is anybody in America has the right to sue anybody, obviously, and actually the Sandy Hook families have had some success in the court recently, and that's fine. The issue is, my view on gun manufacturers and liability is that if a gun manufacturer understands, as is the case, that they are selling guns into an area where those guns are going into the hands of people who should not have it, criminals, for example, they should be held liable. Of course they should. On the other hand, if a gun manufacturer sells a legal product to somebody, and that somebody does something crazy with that gun, do I think you hold the manufacturer liable? I think you don't. That's the difference.
So how do you change this? Do you want to change the law?
Yeah, sure I do. Of course I do.
So how would you change it?
I mean, if somebody walks in, Chuck, just for example, somebody walks into a small gun shop and say, oh, by the way, give me 10,000 rounds of ammunition and 50 guns. You know what? I think that gun shop owner should understand something is not quite right.
So if he sells it, he should.
In that instance, he should. But if you walk in and you say, hey, I'd like to buy a gun, I've passed the instant background check, and should that gun owner, the gun shop owner be held liable for selling you a gun? No, the answer is not.
We had some news today, North Korea testing yet another another nuclear weapon, it looks like, or the ability to, a missile that could carry a nuclear warhead. South Korea is obviously concerned. The conundrum of North Korea, they do this, they provoke, and the world just sort of sits.
Well, it's a difficult,
what do you do about this?
Well, it's not easy what you do, but I think what you do is you work with our allies in the region. I think the president is trying to do that. And I'll tell you what you really do. The only link that North Korea, or the major link that North Korea has to the rest of the world, is through China. And I think China is beginning to catch on that this rogue country that they have supported for so many years is a danger not only to the world but to them.
So this is our job to push China.
Yeah, I think we got to work very closely with China.
President Obama is getting a little bit of criticism in the UK for speaking out against, he doesn't want to see he doesn't want to see British citizens vote to take the UK out of the EU. First of all, where are you on that? And second of all, would you insert yourself into this campaign?
Well, I'll let the British people make their own decisions on that.
So you don't think the president should be commenting on this?
The president has every right to comment on what he wants to. I'm a candidate for president right now. I'm not going to.
So as president, you would not have
I didn't say that. No. He is the president.
Right. Do you have a view?
Candidate for president.
Do you have a view on this?
Not a significant one. I'll let the people. I think the UK, the European Union, obviously is a very, very important institution. But ultimately, people in Britain are going to make their own decisions. I would hope that they stay in, but that's their decision.
Why are you against the consumption tax, the soda tax in Philadelphia that would pay for pre-K, universal pre-K? Hillary Clinton's for it.
Yes, I'll tell you why. Because it is a totally regressive tax. And right now, at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when the wealthy are getting wealthier, many of them pay an effective tax rate lower than working people. You have large multinational corporations not paying a nickel in federal taxes. That's where you get the money. Somebody's making $20,000 a year and they buy a bottle of soda. I don't think you charge them 30 cents more for that bottle of soda. Now, the goal of universal health care is universal child care. Absolutely something that I strongly agree, and I applaud the mayor there for coming forward. But raise the money in a way that is progressive, not on the backs of low-income and working people.
So you must be against cigarette taxes too, then?
No, I'm not. Cigarette taxes are, there's a difference between cigarettes and soda. I am aware of the obesity problem in this country.
I don't think Michael Bloomberg would agree with you on that one.
Well, that's fine. He can have a point of view. But cigarettes are causing cancer, obviously, and a dozen other diseases. And, there is almost a question as to why it remains a legal product in this country.
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
This is something, and it's interesting, there are 9/11 victims. You support a bill that would allow 9/11 victims to potentially hold Saudi Arabia accountable. Why?
I think there's a lot about Saudi Arabia that we don't fully understand, and I want to get to the root cause of it, the root of what Saudi Arabia has done. There is some evidence, and we will have to ascertain whether it's accurate or not, that money from Saudi Arabia actually funded 9/11 attack. We do know that money from Saudi Arabia is going all over the world in funding this Wahhabism, extreme fundamentalist religious sect, which is an extremist, dangerous sect. And I think that the full extent of the role that Saudi Arabia plays in supporting extremism in this world is something that we should explore.
Let me wrap it up. Question this way. Do you feel as if Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee, and you're not, but Donald Trump is the opponent, do you have a responsibility to do what it takes to get your voters to support Hillary Clinton?
I will do everything that I can to make certain that Donald Trump is not elected president. But if that scenario plays out, the major responsibility will be on Secretary Clinton to convince all people, not just my supporters, that she is the kind of president this country needs to represent working people in this country, to take on the big money interests who have so much power, to fight for what the American people want.
Your supporters are, for the most part, very skeptical of Hillary Clinton. Very, very skeptical. Tougher on her, frankly, than you ever are. People talk about all this back and forth. What do you think, what's your advice to her on winning your voters over?
Well, I think she's going to have to be very explicit about supporting a program which stands up for the needs of the middle class and working families, which most importantly makes it clear that she is prepared to take on Wall Street in a very clear way, take on the billionaire class, come up with a program that makes health care for all in this country a right within the next several years. I think those are some of the issues she's going to have to bring forth.
Now that you've gone through this process, you've got another 5 weeks of primaries. You're going to have been to every state in this union, territories probably as well. Are you now going to be a registered Democrat? Are you now a proud member of the Democratic Party?
Well, I said when I began this campaign that I was going to be a Democrat, and I will stay as a Democrat.
So if you ever run for office again, you're going to do so as a Democrat?
What I will also do, Chuck, is do my best to reform the Democratic Party, which I think needs a lot of reforming.
But to do that, you need to be a member of it.
Yeah, well, in my state, you don't register as a Democrat. You vote in the Democratic primaries, which is what I do. But what mostly we need to do is to open the doors of the Democratic Party, which in many ways are not open right now, to millions of young people and working class people who want to make fundamental changes in the way this country operates. And the function of the Democratic Party cannot just be to go to wealthy people and raise money. It's got to be meeting with ordinary people, hearing what's on their mind, and prepared to take on the powerful special interests who today control this country legislatively, economically, and media-wise.
Senator Sanders, thank you, sir. Stay safe on the trip.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.